This is for the purposes of those of you who are logging in on our website to find out a little bit more and to see a little bit more of our interview with Stuart Andrew. Theresa May announced plans yesterday to ensure that workers were represented on the boards of major companies. She first introduced that plan in July 2016 when she first became Prime Minister, and then she decided that she wouldn't implement the plan in November. It was reported at the time, due to pressure from business, they didn't think it was the best idea. And now we've got it reintroduced in May 2017. I suppose my question is, the phrase that's been used a lot is strong and stable. Does that sound like strong and stable leadership to you?
Well, I think let's have a look at the agenda that we've had to deal with in the last couple of months. You know, Parliament has been very busy with the Brexit situation that we find ourselves in. We weren't expecting that we would have to have legislation, but the courts ruled that we needed to. That took up quite a bit of time. But what I can tell you is that Theresa May is very passionate about these issues. You know, when she talks about wanting to create an economy that works for everybody, she really means that. And that's why she is talking about not just this policy, but a whole raft of other policies that will support workers' rights, so that people can have faith and that actually business is a great thing. It creates jobs, it creates wealth. But it doesn't always behave brilliantly. Yeah. And when it doesn't, that's why these sort of checks and balances need to come into place. You
say that people can have faith in Theresa May and in the policies that she has around workers' rights, but you know, on that particular policy, and I use it as an example, she's had three different positions in 10 months in terms of if she was for it. Then she thought, well, I can't get this by the business community. They're not on board, so let's not bother with it. The phrase is U-turn, isn't it? And then she's reintroduced it in. What makes Theresa May? I'm just not sure that there's a consistency there in terms of, can people really believe that she's for workers' rights if as soon as the business community say, actually, we don't think that's such a good idea, then her policies will disappear?
Well, again, this is what this general election is about. It's about her wanting to secure a mandate for her premiership and her government. And, you know, that's why this is being announced now, because she wants to say, I want to introduce this. But at the moment, we've had a small majority in the House of Commons. That's something we have to face realistically. But there has been extra pressure on time in the House, you know, in terms of trying to get other pieces of legislation through and completed. So, you know, sometimes you have to be realistic about the timescales you've got in front of you, whether you've got enough support in the House to get it through. But I know that she sincerely believes that this is something that she wants to get through.
Final question then, Stuart Andrew. I invited last night on our Twitter to see if anyone had any particular questions. Don't worry, I'm not doing a Jeremy Corbyn. I'm not going to say Doris from York says this. But some of the questions that came through were largely around the NHS. And I suppose my final question then is, Labour and the Liberal Democrats are both promising to pump an extra 30 billion into the NHS. What's the Conservative plan?
Well, you know, first of all, the NHS is something that I personally am deeply proud of. It's something that I've used, my family uses. I used to work in the hospice movement and I see how precious and important it is. But one of the things we did after the last election was we asked the NHS, what is it that you need for the 5 years going forward? What is your 5-year plan and how much do you need? They said they needed 8 billion. We're actually giving them 10 billion by 2020. We've got more nurses and doctors being employed than ever before. But that doesn't mean to say it's not without its issues. Of course it is. There's more people using it now than ever before. And because we're living longer, which is a great thing, but that also adds pressure to it. The issue I have with both what the Liberal Democrats and the Labour Party are saying is that we need to see whether these are fully costed. Because it's great to promise the earth, it's great to promise 30 odd billion pounds, but where is the money coming from? And I've heard corporation tax, being used a lot, but it seems that money seems to be being used for all sorts of different policies. I think we listened to the professionals within the NHS. We asked NHS England, this was their plan, and that's what we are delivering. And then in addition to that, we've also put an extra £2 billion into social care, because sometimes issues within social care can impact on the NHS. And I personally speaking, and this isn't anything that I would say particularly the party is saying yet, but I do think we need much more cooperation between social care and the NHS. That it's happening in some areas and it's working brilliantly. It's really making a difference, and I'd like to see that happen all over the country.
Okay, well that is actually all we've got time for. I really appreciate you coming in, Stuart. Thank you, and thank you for watching.